This has serious implications for the Grizzlies. Of course, as we get towards the 2025-2026 season, somebody has to come off the bench. But who? Hi everybody, welcome back to Grizzlies Digest. I'm Tristan Harlen, excited to be back with you after my last video talk about my expectations for the former All-Star, Jared Jackson Jr. And of course, before we begin, look at me. I'm falling back into old habits. 64.4% of you guys are not subscribed to 35.6% of you guys that are. Sorry, I'm a hoot, I know. So, again, to my 35.6% of you guys, thank you so much for subscribing. To my 64, almost 64.5 of you guys, go ahead, click that red button because it's everybody's favorite price. Free $99. Now, of course, we're a long ways away from the season, and there's a lot of time before a decision has to be made by the coaching staff for the Grizzlies about who the sixth man will be. That's all dependent on what the opening night roster looks like. Now, keep in mind, just because they start on opening night does not mean they will start for the remainder of the season. Now, who's going to start on opening night, you may ask? And to me, I think, barring injuries, if we're taking injuries out of the question, you know who your starting five should be. But given the current injury status of Zach Edey, I think your starting five looks like Ja, KCP, maybe Gigi, Jaren, and then Brandon Clark, or it's Ja, Scotty, Gigi, Jaren, and Brandon Clark. Now, all that's dependent on what the coaching staff wants to do, who shines in the offseason and training camp. Jalen Wells may be starting at the 3. There's a lot of interchangeable pieces that I'm not exactly 100% sold on for a starting lineup just yet. Now, I would love to see the result of the training camps once those become available to the media and to the public. But the people who I think have a strong case of being that sixth man, well, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Of course, first and foremost, Scottie Pippen Jr. Now, Scottie Pippen Jr. is beloved by all the Grizzlies fans. Now, this is not taking into account if he starts at the 2. Now, personally, I think we see KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope start at the 2, or even the 3, given on what the opponent's defense is going to look like and who they are starting on. They're starting in their starting lineup. Now, of course, his numbers speak for himself. Almost 10 points last season, 3 rebounds a game, 4 assists, almost a block per game, almost 1.5 steals. Turned the ball over a little bit, but of course shooting 48% from the field and about 40% from the three-point line. Now moving forward to the next target, Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome joins the Grizzlies from the Cleveland Cavaliers roster. Of course, last season he averaged about 20 minutes a game, scored about 12.5, 2.5 rebounds, 3 assists, no blocks, 1 steal, 1 turnover, 1 foul, shot 52% for the sake of rounding, and 44% from the 3. Now, again, there's a lot of people who think Ty Jerome's definitely going to be coming off the bench for the Grizzlies because if he is to start alongside John Morant, that could create a bad backcourt. Time will tell. We'll have to just see how everything plays out. Now, again, everybody, go ahead and pause real quick before I dive into this one. Take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt because I'm not a part of the Grizzlies coaching staff. I'm not a part of the Grizzlies organization. I'm giving mere predictions and opinions on who I think possible sixth man will be for the Grizzlies this season. Gigi Jackson. Gigi Jackson is a guy who has shown glimpses of domination and has shown glimpses of being the next guy for the Grizzlies, but he's also shown glimpses of just being another player for the Grizzlies. Now, again, if you make it to the NBA, especially with how old he is, you're doing something right in your life. Now, Gigi averaging about 16 minutes a game, 7 points, 3 rebounds, an assist, 0.2 of a block, 0.4 steals, 1 turnover, shooting 37% from the field and 34% from three-point land. Now, all these players could very well start any given night. Whether Gigi starting at the 3 if he's not in the G League, Scottie Pippen starting at the 1 if Ja Morant is out. Ty Jerome starting at the 1 if Ja's out, or starting at the 2, depending on who's starting at the 1. The possibilities are endless for the Grizzlies. Now, I'm not going to run super long with this one because I just gave you a 15-minute long video, and I apologize. I did not realize that was how long that video was. But you got to take into account, okay? There's 2 question marks. One, what's Ja's status for the season? Now, I'm not saying he's hurt or anything, but how many games is he going to play realistically? Is he going to play north of 50, or is he going to play less than 50? Who's going to be your starting 2? Is it going to be Scotty? Is it going to be Ty? Is it going to be Cedric Howard once he gets up to NBA speed? I mean, there's a long list of players that could possibly be the starting 2 for the Grizzlies. Now, starting 3, same thing. Who do you trust at that 3? Do you play Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 3? Do you play Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 2? Where does Kentavious Caldwell-Pope fit in with the Grizzlies offense? And how does he fit in with the roster? Now, to me, personally, I'm not doing anything more than starting KCP. I'm not putting him on the bench unless there is just no way nor how you cannot leave Cedric Howard on the bench. That's the only way I would ever bench KCP this season, because he's a proven veteran. He's an NBA champion. He knows what it takes to win. Furthermore, the 4, Jaren. How many games are you going to get out of Jaren? I know I just said in my last video my expectations were he was going to have the best statistical career season of his career, but reality is a real thing. How many games are you getting out of Jaren, and how many of those games that you get out of Jaren is he going to foul out? Okay. Next, for the center position, when does Zach Edey return? Of course, Zach Edey is going to miss the opening night due to an injury. We may not see him till November, maybe even early December. If that's the case, is Brandon Clark your starting 5? Is he your starting center going up to that point? Or do you possibly start one of these other guys that you just picked up in free agency, or you signed last minute? I mean, what does that aspect look like? Now, for me, I think Brandon Clark has proven it time and time again that he's reliable when you need him most. Now, some people are going to argue that with me and say, well, Brandon Clark wasn't reliable a lot last season. Yeah, but he was also hurt. But, again, those are a lot of question marks for the Grizzlies. Now, you take all those question marks, you ball them up, you shine it up real nice, and you figure out where exactly does that fit in with the Grizzlies season. Opening nights, a couple months away. Who do you start at the 2? Of course, Desmond Bane's gone, so you realistically don't have a set guy that say, hey, I'm going to start you at the 2. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, I start at the 2. At the 3, 4, 5, the 4, I'm putting Jaren. 5, if he's healthy, I'm putting Zach Edey. So again, we go back through history of the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have never had a small forward who could realistically start every night, except Rudy Gay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that before somebody gets in the comment section, well, you forgot Rudy Gay. No, I didn't forget Rudy Gay, you idiot. I simply meant ever since Rudy got traded to Toronto. Was he traded to Toronto or Sacramento? I think he was traded to Toronto. I think him and Kyle Lowry were traded to Toronto. And then after that, he went to Sacramento. Anyways, nonetheless, since Rudy Gay has been traded, they have not had a realistic, reliable 3. Now, we've had some good ones. Vince Carter in his old age, he was pretty good for what it was worth. Jeff Green, when he wanted to play, he was all right. Even going back through the dark days of Grizzlies basketball, when Jamaica Green was our starting forward, that's a name I'm sure a lot of you guys haven't heard in a while, or Jarnell Stokes from the University of Tennessee, sure that's a name you ain't heard in a while, or Wade Baldwin IV from Vanderbilt, sure that's not a name you've ever, a lot of you probably never heard, and some of you haven't heard in a while, and hope you never hear that name again. But again, time's gonna tell. Season's a long ways away, but to sum up my video, to give you your answer, the 6th man, the guy who I think will be the 6th man for the Memphis Grizzlies this season, is none other than Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome, of course, 12.5 points per game on almost 20 minutes of game time. People say if he starts, it's going to be a horrible backcourt. You put him at your sixth man. You bring him off the bench. You give him 15 minutes a game, and you give him the automatic green light. Now, again, I'd like to see how training camp goes before I can 1,000% say I'm confident in this answer. But for where it stands right now, Ty Jerome, congratulations. You are now the sixth man. Possibly the sixth man of the year, if we're being honest. But, again, guys, this has been another episode of Grizzlies Digest. Tristan Harlen signing off, saying goodbye. I'll have 2 more videos out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for those. Remember, if you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button because it's everybody's favorite price, free $99. Now, I said this in my last video. I'm going to say it in this video. I'm going to say it for the entire football season. Go Bruins.